You believe your choices are your own, but the truth is, you've been hacked. Every time you click buy now, every time you justify a purchase you didn't need, and every time you feel that itchy, restless urge to upgrade a life that is already perfectly functional, you aren't making a decision. You are responding to a prompt. We like to imagine ourselves as the captains of our souls, navigating the vast ocean of the global market with logic as our compass. We believe we spend money because we want things. We believe we want things because they will make our lives better. But this is the grandest lie of the 21st century. The reality is far more clinical and far more terrifying. You are the victim of a biological mismatch. A prehistoric brain trapped in a digital casino designed by the most brilliant minds of our generation to ensure you never feel enough. In the next minutes, we are going to peel back the skin of your consumer habits to reveal the wiring underneath. We're going to look at why your bank account is a casualty in a war you didn't even know was being fought. Because the reason you can't stop spending isn't a lack of willpower. It's because your biology has been weaponized against you. To understand why you just spent $80 on a dinner you'll forget by tomorrow, we have to travel back 50,000 years. Our ancestors lived in a world of absolute scarcity. If you found a bush of ripe berries, you didn't save some for later. You ate every single one until your stomach hurt. Why? Because the caloric opportunity might not return for a week. In the Pleistocene, more was the only metric for survival. More fat, more fur, more tools, more social standing. This drive was regulated by a neurotransmitter we all know too well, dopamine. Contrary to popular belief, dopamine isn't the chemical of pleasure. It is the chemical of anticipation. It is the hunter's itch. It's the brain's way of saying there is something potentially life-saving over there. For 99% of human history, this system worked perfectly. It kept us moving, kept us foraging, and kept us alive. But then something catastrophic happened. We changed our environment, but we couldn't change our hardware. We moved from a world of scarcity to a world of engineered abundance. Today, that ancestral ghost is still screaming in your ear. When you scroll through an online store, your brain doesn't see unnecessary consumer goods. It sees a berry bush. It sees a caloric windfall. The dopamine spikes not when the package arrives, but the moment you hit the button. We are essentially monkeys with credit cards, trying to solve a prehistoric survival problem in a world where survival is already guaranteed for most of us. We are being driven by a software that was never updated for the age of Amazon Prime. And that glitch? It's worth trillions of dollars to the people who know how to exploit it. This brings us to our systemic enemy. It isn't a person, and it isn't a single corporation. It is a phenomenon I call dopamine arbitrage. Arbitrage in finance is the practice of taking advantage of a price difference between two markets. In the context of your behavior, corporations are taking advantage of the difference between your biological rewards and your actual needs. In the mid-20th century, the goal of advertising was to tell you why a product was good. A vacuum cleaner was better because it had more suction. A car was better because it was faster. But then, a man named Edward Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud, realized something dark. He realized that if you could link products to a person's deepest emotional insecurities and unconscious desires, you could bypass their rational mind entirely. He didn't sell cigarettes, he sold torches of freedom. He didn't sell cars, he sold masculinity. Today, this engineering has reached its final form. We have moved from the engineering of consent to the engineering of addiction. Every interface you interact with, from the red notification dot to the infinite scroll, is designed to trigger a microdose of dopamine. The credit industrial complex is the ultimate tool of this arbitrage. By decoupling the pleasure of acquisition from the pain of payment, They have effectively removed the only biological break we had. When you used to hand over physical gold or even paper bills, your brain registered a loss. It felt a pang of loss aversion. But a digital transaction? A tap of a phone? That's frictionless. The pain centers of the brain remain silent, while the reward centers are screaming. We have created a world where it is biologically easier to spend than it is to stop. You aren't bad with money. You are simply a biological entity living in an environment designed to drain you. To see this in action, we have to look at the story of the French philosopher Denis Diderot. Most of his life, Diderot lived in poverty. But in 1765, the Empress of Russia, Catherine the Great, heard of his financial troubles and bought his library for a massive sum. Suddenly, Diderot was wealthy. He decided to treat himself to a beautiful scarlet silk dressing gown. It was magnificent. But then a problem emerged. When Diderot sat in his old straw chair wearing his new silk gown, the chair looked pathetic. So he bought a new leather chair. But then his old wooden table looked out of place next to the leather, so he bought a marble one. Then his old tapestries looked ragged, so he replaced them with expensive prints. It didn't take long before Diderot found himself in debt again. He wrote an essay titled "Regrets on Parting with My Old Dressing Gown," where he coined a terrifying truth. I was the absolute master of my old gown, but I have become the slave of my new one. Psychologists now call this the Diderot Effect. It is the reason why a new iPhone leads to a new case, which leads to new MagSafe accessories, which leads to a new charging station. We don't buy objects in isolation. We buy lifestyles. Every purchase creates a cultural complementarity. Once you upgrade one part of your life, you create a perceived imbalance in the rest. Your brain seeks cohesion. The system knows that if they can get you to buy the seed purchase, the dressing gown, your own psychology will force you to buy the rest of the garden. But there's a deeper, darker layer to this. Why do we feel this imbalance so acutely? Why can't we just sit in a straw chair wearing a silk gown and be happy? Because of social signaling. In the wild, your status in the tribe determined your access to resources and mates. If you were at the bottom of the hierarchy, you died. Therefore, the human brain is hyper-attuned to relative standing. In the past, you only had to compare yourself to the 20 or 30 people in your immediate village. If you had a slightly better spear, you were the king of the hill. But today, your village is the entire world. Through the screen in your pocket, you are constantly comparing your behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. You are competing for status against billionaires and filters. When you spend money on things you don't need, you aren't buying utility. You are buying a signal. You are desperately trying to tell the tribe, I am relevant. I am successful. I am safe. But here is the cynical truth. In a consumerist society, status is a depreciating asset. The moment everyone has the thing you bought to stand out, the signal is neutralized. The goalposts move. The system ensures that the finish line of status always stays exactly $10,000 out of your reach. You are running on a hedonic treadmill. You are running faster and faster, spending more and more just to stay in the same place emotionally. This is the hidden truth. Your wants are not yours. If you were left alone on a desert island with $1 billion, you wouldn't spend a cent of it. You wouldn't care about the brand of your shoes or the model of your watch. Why? Because there is no one to signal to. This proves that your spending habits are almost entirely performative. You are being hacked at the intersection of your evolutionary fear of being an outcast and your biological craving for dopamine. The most successful companies in the world don't sell products. They sell self-actualization. They sell the idea that you are just one purchase away from becoming the version of yourself you see in the ads. The version that is happy, relaxed, and finally complete. But the complete version of you is a nightmare for the economy. A content human being is a non-consumer. If you were satisfied with what you had, the gears of the global financial system would grind to a halt. The GDP of nations depends on your persistent dissatisfaction. Your unhappiness is a feature of the system, not a bug. They don't want you to stop spending. They need you to feel like you are lacking forever. They have hacked your sense of self and replaced it with a shopping list. So, where does this leave us? We are biological relics living in a digital trap. We are being hunted by algorithms that know our weaknesses better than we do. We spend money we haven't earned, to buy things we don't want, to impress people we don't like. But perhaps the first step to reclaiming your mind is to recognize the hack while it's happening. To feel that dopamine itch and realize it's just a ghost from the Pleistocene trying to save you from a famine that doesn't exist. Wealth isn't found in the accumulation of signals. It's found in the luxury of not needing to signal at all. The next time you feel the urge to buy, ask yourself, is this a choice I'm making? Or am I just responding to the code? In a world designed to keep you wanting, the most rebellious act you can perform is to be enough.